Welcome back to MC Disc Vlogs. In this video, I'm going to talk about situational disc golf. So basically, I'm going to go through most of these discs in here, like the regular in the bag, and then talk about all the different situations I use the different discs for. So, putting putters, that's pretty obvious. It's just a putting putter, which is my Electron Firm Plastic Nomad. I got two of these. These are kind of newer ones. I had more beat-in ones, so I got newer ones in there now. And mostly, I don't know. I've been messing around with different putting styles and whatnot, but sometimes I try to come back on like an Anheuser and then come out flat on and it sometimes ends up coming out on Heiser anyway, but I try to keep it relatively flat. I try to do the Anheuser on the reach back and then come back so it comes out flat. So that's what I do, probably 30 feet and in. If it's outside 30 feet or outside circle, I'll probably put a little more Heiser on. That way I don't want it to go past the basket and I want it to kind of like dive into the basket. Or if I miss a little bit long, it just Heiser is towards the ground and it doesn't go far past it. And I'll do that with either of these two because they're pretty much the same. And then I'd say if I'm like stuck under a bush or something or an obstacle under the basket and I want to do a little floaty putt, that's what I'll kind of use the glitch for because it's a really light one and you can basically just use it as a floaty, really glidey disc. So floaty shots, little like air bounce shots, that's what I'll use the glitch for. Entropy, this one is pretty much skip shots, sidearms. I gotta work a little bit more on the backhand up shots, but this one, it's really good for sidearm up shots within 100 feet, 150 feet, whatnot. So that's basically what I use it for. It's a really good skip disc. And then if I want something with a little more skip, I'll go with the deflector. And this one's really good for little skip shots. I'd say, well, they're both really good skip shot discs, but if I want more of a skip, I'll go with the deflector because the angle's just a little bit more on here and a little more distance and a little more skip. It'll be deflector. Straight putter shots or ones I want to put on a little bit of Heiser and have it flip up to flat, even get a little bit of turn and kind of glide straight down there because it's starting to get more beat in as the ohm. And then if there's more of a headwind, just more windy in general, I'll go with the Envy sidearms and backhands, mainly backhands, I'd say. The sidearm up shots are more with like the Entropy. Straight mid-range shots, the Hex. Also, it holds a pretty good Anheuser too. It basically holds whatever line you want it on. I don't really do it on Heisers because that's what I use the reactors for. Just because they're more stable, so they hold the Heiser better. But if I want like a Anheuser and I want it to hold the angle, or I just want a dead straight shot through the woods, or just a straight 250 foot shot or something, I'll go with the Hex. And then if I want the same thing a little bit longer, the Crave. It goes pretty straight, gets a little bit of fade. I use it on sidearms sometimes, but mostly backhands. It's a really good woods disc. It's basically what I want I'd say stability wise, maybe in between the Hex and the reactor. But if I want something just a little bit farther than the mid range fairway driver, Crave is good, and it'll go straight, give me that little bit of fade. If I want to do like an S shot through the woods, Heiser flip, kind of like I do with the Ohm as a putter shot, I'll do that with the Rhythm. Usually this is what I'll put on a Heiser, have it flip up, try to get a turn around trees. If I want to do more shot shaping in the woods, it's probably going to be with the Rhythm. And if I want to go straighter straighter shot through the woods, I'll just try to power through the woods with the Crave. And then if the wind picks up a little bit more, sidearm, it'll probably be the Electron Terra, because just grip wise, and also if it gets rainy, let's say rainy wise, the just you hear the grip on it. It just has a good tacky grip. The Electron is good for just rainy conditions, morning rounds when it's dewy and whatnot. Remember, there was one rainy round at Northridge this year. It was like a league round. I couldn't really grip anything except for the putters I had. I just started throwing my nomads on like every hole, and I wish I would have had like an Electron Matrix in there. I might have to put one of those in there permanently to go with like the Hex or something, just to have something more grippy if it gets wet out. Like Neutron has a really good grip to it, but if it gets rainy, Neutron, Plasma, Proton, those all get really slippery. I mean, in normal conditions, they're really good grip, but if you want something a little more tacky and that holds in weather conditions that aren't so great, Electron is good for that. It's not as durable, but in those rainy conditions, it'll work really good. So the sidearm with the fairway shot probably will be the Terra, and then backhand it'll be the Neutron one. Similar to the Electron one, a little more stable. Holds into a headwind really good. So if I need something and the Craves aren't holding up in the wind, I go to the Terra. Then if I want something similar to like the Rhythm, and I want a little bit more distance, I'll probably go with Insanity. It's starting off a little stable, but it is 165 grams. See it somewhere on the bottom there. But yeah, it's a good understable disc. Probably if I want to do rollers too, backhand rollers, this is what this disc will be good for. Wrath, this is a good sidearm and backhand disc. But yeah, it's good for backhands. Mostly, I'd say it's backhands and sidearms, but mostly backhands. A little bit farther than the Terra. So yeah, the Wrath is basically my go-to, I'd say, control driver. 9-speed. Sidearm sometimes, mostly backhands. It's good skip shot disc. But I could put it on more of a spike angle too if I don't want it to hyzer as much. So it's just a good control driver overall. Holds in the wind pretty good. Similar to a Tesla, probably slightly more stable than a Tesla. I've had Teslas in there before, but I like the Wrath a little bit more. One thing I'll probably have to do, well, I have one of them in the other bag I was testing the other disc with, Plasma Fireball, but I got the two Fission ones in there right now. These ones are good too, but, I mean, the grip's a little bit different, and, they just glide a little bit more than a regular Fireball. The regular Fireballs are super overstable. They're like Firebird-esque, and they get a big skip and just super overstable. These ones have a nice reliable fade to them too, but they're just a little more glidey. Like this one definitely out of 160 grams. This one too, though. Yeah, they're just super overstable discs. These two not as much as the Plasma ones, but they're still pretty overstable. And also, if I want to do a thumber, since I don't have very big hands, the Fireball is a good disc to do it with. Also, might go with the Terra too, but probably the Fireball, just because it fits good in the hand. I could try it with a 14 speed, but it's harder to get my thumb in there. I just have smaller hands, so it's hard to grip stuff like that. So I'll go with like a 9 speed to do, yeah, like a thumber. I could try Tomahawks, but Tomahawks don't really work for me. They end up just turning into forehand rollers. I guess I'll have to practice with the There's an angle on them to not get them to turn into rollers and do that pan thing like the thumbers do. It's just easy to get the thumbers to do it, but yeah, backhand sidearms interchangeably with the fireball, and then overhand shots occasionally. Let's see, I'll go with these waves. Similar to the rhythm, I guess. Shot shaping through the woods. And the open as well. It's kind of an S-curve disc. Not really sidearm. Sidearm if I want it like a more understable sidearm with something a little bit slower than the big rim discs. Like the 13 speeds and whatnot. Mostly backhand, just shot shaping and whatnot. They don't hold up in the wind as good, so I'll go to something more stable in the wind. But it's a good shot shaping disc on like regular conditions kind of days. And also sort of like the Insanity. If I want like a longer roller, it'll probably be with one of these two discs, the waves. And then longer control driver, a little bit farther than longer than the Wrath would be the Zenith. And I had like Neutron ones in there before, but those, the ones I had in there just didn't seem as stable as I wanted them. So this plasma one just has a really good grip, and that's what I go with for control shots that I want a little bit farther than the Wrath. Sidearm and backhand. And then this one I haven't been throwing a whole lot, but the new time lapse, the proto ones, holds up in the wind really good. I don't think I've really thrown it on sidearm, so I'd say it's mainly backhand. Yeah, mainly backhands. I'll probably do some sidearms with it, but for now, backhands for this time lapse. It's reliably pretty overstable though. I could get if I get a good throw on it, I'll get a little bit of turn, like a slight bit, but it'll get that heavy fade on it. So it's almost like the Panics, but slightly slower version. These are my big Spike Heiser discs. If I just want something to go far and then Heiser out heavy at the end, and something that gets a big skip on it too. Regular big Heiser shots and Spike Heisers if I want to go over the top and then have a spike into the ground, like Tombstone in the ground. It'll be with one of these Panics. Sidearm on shorter sidearm shots, but I can't get it very far into sidearm. So mainly backhand Spike Heisers and regular Heiser shots with that. Big distance wise, if I want my longest roller shots, it'll probably be with the Excite, but I got to get it on the right angle, so I got to practice a little more with that. But probably the biggest air shots and S-curve shots where I want the biggest distance and try to get it out to like 400 feet or more, or just like a long shot and try to get as much distance as I can. It'll be the Excite, but they don't work very good in the wind because they're a little bit understable. I mean, they're fast. They're 14 speeds, but they don't fight through the wind as good. So that's what I have the two Deliriums for. Same speed. If I want something more overstable, it's going to be with these. And then Spike Heiser is kind of like the Panic, and something to just hold through the wind better. If the wind picks up instead of the Excite, I'll either go with the Panic or the Delirium. So overall, I have most of the stabilities I want in the bag currently for what I need. Heisers, most of the time, say if the wind picks up, my main discs are going to be like the Panic, the Fireball, Terra, reactors and envies and stuff like that. Normal condition days, it'll be like the Ohm, Hex, Crave, Wrath and Zenith, stuff like that. Stuff that's really good in the tailwinds is the more understable stuff. So like the Excite, the understable stuff like the Insanity, the Waves are good in tailwinds. Because the tailwinds will just make something more stable. So anything with a number that has, let's see if I can find the Insanity. So like if the number is, or the high speed churn is more than the fade, that'll be good in a tailwind. So like, yeah, Insanity, Rhythm, or something where it's about equal, like the Wave, a -2/2, or something like that. Or I think it's also a -2/2 on the Excite. So stuff like that's good in tailwinds. And then the stuff that has a heavier fade, like -0.5 and a 3 fade, that'll be good in a headwind. So Delirium, Panic, Time Lapse. For mid ranges, it's not as much, but like well, I still have some pretty overstable stuff for that too. So like Entropy and Envy and Deflector, stuff like that. And then if the wind gets really bad and it's getting hard to putt, I might just switch to the Envy or Entropy for putting and whatnot. But usually it doesn't get too bad that way. But yeah, it all just kind of depends on what the situation's calling for. Most of the time conditions aren't too bad, so stick to the normal game plan, but kind of depends on the conditions. Heavier winds tend to go more overstable stuff. If I get in the right tailwind, then I can throw something understable, but usually crosswinds, headwinds and whatnot will go to the more overstable stuff. Then rollers, yeah, tailwinds, more understable stuff, and then neutrals, just a straight flying disc. So that's basically a basic rundown of what discs I use for certain situations and why. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.